Alright, in this lesson we're going to talk about some minor based patterns that you can use to get out of the pentatonic scale. We're going to talk about octaves so we can move across the neck from one end to the other easily. And we're going to talk about hammer-ons and pull-offs and alternate picking. Let's check it out. So we're going to be in the key of E minor for this lesson. But it's easy to move. You can move any of these patterns. If you wanted to move to G, you can just relate every pattern back to G. And I'll show you how to do that. But we're going to be in E minor. We're going to learn 3 patterns, or 3 positions. We're going to relate them to the pentatonic scale, so they'll be a little easier. They're all going to be Dorian based, because you're going to have a natural 6 instead of a flat 6, like natural minor. But you don't want to think Dorian. You don't want to think any mode. You just want to think, you know, this pattern lays over this pentatonic scale, and I can use it over minor chords, minor vamps, and minor chord progressions, and it'll work. If you're thinking about what mode you're using, then your thought process starts getting really complicated, and it's hard to use and get this into your playing really quickly. So our first pattern is going to be based off of our E minor pentatonic pattern with our root on the 6th string. And our 3 positions, we're going to start off learning them on the B and high E strings. So the first position is essentially this fingering. Or you can do it with this fingering. And it's going to be 12, 14, 15 on the B string, 12, 14, 15 on the high E string. All of these patterns are going to be mirror image patterns. So whatever you're playing on the B string, you're going to be playing on the high E string. So you can think of this pattern as my 1, 3, 4 pattern, or my 1, 2, 3 pattern, depending on how you want to finger it. Which you could finger 1, 2, 3, or 1, 3, 4. Our next pattern is going to be based out of this pentatonic position. And it's going to be 14, 15, 17 on the B, 14, 15, 17 on the high E. You can think about this as my 1, 2, 4 pattern. Our next pattern and our final pattern on this string set is based out of that pentatonic position, and it's 15, 17, 19, 15, 17, 19. So you can think of this as your extended 1, 2, 4 pattern. So we have these. Or and those are our patterns. Now here's the cool thing. Before we get into any sequences, we're going to learn how to move these so we can extend our fretboard. Now, if you notice this first pattern, the first note starts on a B note. So to move this, all we have to do is find our next lowest B note, which is here on the 9th fret of the D string. So we can start our pattern off that B. It's exactly the same. And then our other patterns will relate exactly the same. You move up here, and you move up. Now, if we wanted to extend it a 3rd octave, we can take this B and go down to the next lowest B, which is on the 7th fret of the low E string. And we can build our pattern from there. Build our next pattern. So now we can pretty much play from here to here quickly. So what I would suggest is take each fingering and move it through octaves. So take your fingering, your 1, 2, 4, or your 1, 2, 3, or your 1, 3, 4 fingering. Start on the low B, middle B, high B. So you have 3 string sets that you can play that. You can start on the next pattern, this one. You have 3 string sets, you can play that. So that starts on a C sharp. So you're just moving in these octaves. You can do the final pattern, which starts on a D. So now you have huge kind of fretboard ranging scales or patterns that you can use, but you don't have to think about like crazy fingerings. It's the same fingering, you just move octaves. You see your octaves and you play your fingering. Now let's say we wanted to do this in G. We'd find our minor pentatonic pattern. We'd build our fingerings. And we'd find them in octaves. So, sorry. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some bends that you can use in these patterns before we get into the sequences. So normally you'd bend here. Well, now you can bend right there. So that's a half step bend. Now if you were in this position, your 1, 2, 4 position, you could do that bend with your first finger. You bend that with your pinky. If you're here, you bend. So your bends you have are from here to here. So there's a lot of different bends that you can't get just from the pentatonic scale. So let's talk about a few sequences, and we'll do them in one position, and then I'll show you how to put them through the octaves. The first one is an ascending sequence. So you're just going to take whatever fingering you're doing and ascend it 3 notes on a string. So you would have, so if you're using legato, you would have a down, hammer, hammer, up, hammer, hammer. Same for all the positions. Down, hammer, hammer, up, hammer, hammer. Down, hammer, hammer. You can do that in this position. You can do it here. If you were alternate picking it, you would have down, up, down, up, down, up. 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 And so if you're doing them in one position, you would have like, if you were moving them through octaves, you could do them, and that's just ascending through each pattern of the octave. Or you can move it actually through octaves. Pick it. Once again, down, up, 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 down, up. Now, you can also descend. So if you're descending and you're using hammer-ons and pull-offs, I would use an upstroke, pull-off, pull-off, downstroke, pull-off, pull-off. If you're alternate picking it, it's just going to be down, up, down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Once again, you can do it the same way. And the first cool thing you can do is kind of Steve Lukather sounding to me, because he uses that a lot on like Hold the Line, is you just double up on each string. So you'd have, I would use all downs for this. Down, 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 down. Put it through all the patterns. Do it in octaves. So you can do it through just octaves. Now Now you have a fret this far spanning lick. So that's down, hammer, hammer, down, hammer, hammer. Do the same thing with pull-offs. Down, pull off, down, pull off, pull off. And if you were alternate picking either one of these phrases where you have 6 notes, you would just go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And that can sound very Steve Lukather-like. So, you can play all of these ideas in 2 different ways. This would be 16th notes. So if you're using 16th notes, you've got 6 16th notes going on. It's going to have this pulse. So or you can do it as a 16th note triplet. So, you know. In the second part of this video, I'm going to discuss some more sequences, some ways to put the Pt1 pattern through this, and some musical application. So check out part 2.